Let's get it. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. Yeah, it's lit in the chop shop. Turn your dials up in the drop top. They ain't based in debate, but they keep it fact straight. Going 30 for 30, let's do a first take on Facebook Live from 12 to 2. Rob Hatter and Jim Hicks going back and forth like Carter Ray and Skip Bayless and Stephen Smith. From on the court, off the court, straight to the field. Not a man that steals, but I made it steal. To the octagon where I fight to kill. We go face to face, then you write your will. I don't play tennis, but I bring the racket. I'm on the floor, I attack the basket. Put you in the casket when I'm overlapping. Never showing mercy, cause I'm always snapping. Never showing mercy when I'm in the arena. Step into the ring, he hit me as I beat him. Step into the court, I'm never backing down. Killing competition, I'm smacking down. Let me get back to the other stuff at the chop shop, cause they cutting up. It's retro, coming to you live to the chop shop. Now let's turn it up. Yeah, we in the chop shop, man. Shout out to Jim Hicks and Rob Hatter. You can catch the chop shop live from 12 to 2 on Facebook Live. Let's get it. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop.
H-Town, what's up? You know what time it is. It's time for the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks, coming to you live from Houston, Texas. But we're broadcasting all over the world via Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And it's a great, great day. We got special guests coming in today, but I got something to share with y'all before we go any further. Jimmy, let me tell you, Major League Baseball team. It's just so much stuff going on out here today. And I had some just for y'all. Think about this, y'all. New York, Texas, California. Pro sports are giving the green light, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, your Texas, California is looking to open in early June. Your Texas Governor Abbott says some professional sports can return May 31st. Pro golf, auto racing, baseball, softball, football, and basketball. And I just want, what a tumultuous Monday we had, Jimmy, and on a lot of levels. Jimmy, suddenly we hear both coasts and central part of the country say, hey, let's go. The sports teams are saying, Jimmy, let me tell you something, what's so key about this. A few months ago, sports team was talking about we'll quarantine in another state and we'll go here, we'll go here. And Jimmy, and magically it seems to open up. You know what it revolves around, everybody. They can't get over on the old chop shop around here. You know what this revolves around? Money. As they said in Watergate, Jimmy, follow the money. I don't think they're trying to hide. I don't think they're trying to hide it, Jimmy. Teams in California said they'll take their teams elsewhere. So that's what, y'all, I didn't mean to put him on the screen yet. That's our surprise guest. I got it. He just popped. I got you. That's all right. We good. But Jimmy, let me tell you something. Let's not go any further. We was going to go to it a whole spool. Let me tell y'all something, ladies and gentlemen. I got a special guest. It's so busy getting this guy. And he said, Rob, he called me right before the show and said, Rob, I'm ready. And I said, let's stop the presses, stop everything. I got to get my dude on the show because I know y'all been wanting to hear from him. and all these other coaches been coming on. I got to get him on. So, Jimmy, you know what? This is a little personal to me. So I will let you introduce our next guest. It ain't fair if I introduce him. So what you got, Jimmy?
Hey, let me tell you something. A quarter too big. Shoulders a nickel. A dime too shiny. I'm going to roll with Penny. We got Penny Hardaway with us live right now. Let's get right up into it. That's what I'm talking about. Head coach of Memphis basketball. And, hey, man, welcome to the Chop Shop again.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, man. The introduction, man, beautiful. I'll pay you later.
Hey, man. Now, look here. With everything going on, NCAA, uncertainty going on with California, with that governor and Congress is being involved. What are your expectations right now for the basketball season in the Division I ranks?
Well, as of right now, we had a head coaches meeting 2 days ago, and they are moving forward with having the athletes come back June 15th on campus. So to me, that gives me some hope that there will be a season this fall, whether it be fans or no fans or whatever. But I think the train is starting to move a little bit.
Now, Penny, based on looking at a lot of announcements has been made in varying states over the past 24 hours. And you're seeing that then on top of that, you have, just all type of things. Even yesterday in Texas, the governor has opened up everything, of course, in phases. But the phase before this phase wasn't even a month ago. And so, I'm looking now, do you honestly believe in your intuition that there'll be no fans by the time basketball season comes around, which is after football, after the midpoint of football season?
If I'm a guessing guy, I'm thinking they'll figure out a way by the time basketball season starts. I'm thinking they'll figure out how to have fans, because in the conference tournament, they're going to have just relatives only. They're going to have whoever you gave your tickets to, and then they were going to space them in the arena or let them sit in the arena. So I think they can figure out a clever way to get it done with fans in there, whether it's everybody having masks and everybody having gloves on or whatever, because people just want to get back to normalcy as fast as possible. So I'm thinking with us starting after football would have found a way to get it done, and then we can follow right behind that.
And so now, of course, the Tigers, to tell me this, you're in the ACC, the AAC, the American Conference. And, coming into this conference, tell me, I'm just curious. We knew it was a tough conference. Mm-hmm. And I really honestly believe that the conference over the past 2 seasons has gotten tougher than it was 2 years ago. That's just from this vantage point. What are your thoughts on that conference before, when you were on the sideline with Team Penny? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But to now, to going in there like, man, I ain't know this. You got UConn this night, Wichita State, and U of A. What are your thoughts on the conference now?
Well, initially, just like everybody else, when I was with Team Penny in high school, I never really followed the conference. So you're thinking, conference might just be okay. Mm-hmm. That's the initial thought of everybody, because it's not a Power 5 conference. But to us, now that you're in it and you've seen every team, you see the level of coaching that's in this conference, man. We have one of the best conferences in the country. I'll rival us and put us up against any SEC, ACC, Pac-12, and I guarantee you our top 4 teams versus their top 4 teams, I feel like we would come out on top. And to be in this conference and know that, first of all, it's a veterans conference, so we get a lot of grad transfers, a lot of JUCO guys, a lot of guys who might have stumbled early on in their careers and not be quote-unquote 5 stars, because everybody pumps these other conferences up because it's 5 stars. And to me, I don't care about what kind of numbers next to a star. If you're a player, you're a player. And our conference is filled with a ton of players, man, and a lot of transfers and JUCO guys. So that's what makes us strong.
And how do you have a question?
No, keep on going, Jimmy. You keep on. I can talk to him anytime.
I like that. So as you notice, when did you first start hearing the term P7? Because it used to be Power 5. We've been hearing that for 10 years or so. Well, when when did Power 7 all of a sudden slide into the? It's kind of like when they gave us the point forward position back in your day. When is this? Explain to the viewers what Power 7 encompasses.
I think that it just says that there's other conferences that are on that level now that you haven't really given credit to. I think that you can, I guess what established the Power 5, the conferences who had the better players, who are always competitive, who get the most NCAA nods, automatic bids. Those conferences, football and basketball are combined together has been what would we call the Power 5. Now, you look at our conference with UCF, us, U of H, Temple, all these teams are battling for like undefeated seasons and beating really good teams in the nation. And now our football programs have rivaled the other conferences. Obviously, the SEC is the cream of the crop when it comes to football. Mm-hmm. But when you combine both, the P7 is saying that there's other conferences that are saying that we feel like we belong in this conversation now with both basketball and football.
Indeed, I definitely concur with that. I mean, it's exciting to see the surge in this conference because a lot of teams were in early in like the Louisvilles and got up and bounced up out of that conference but now it's morphed into it. So now what do you see as far as economics? A lot of schools have been forced to cut programs. Mm-hmm. Division I's been slicing stuff, Ginsu. I mean, and what's next? I mean, and I've noticed that I saw and read there's some conferences, I think the MAC, they're considering reshuffling their whole schedule to make it more regional. Do you anticipate any of that type of stuff in the American Conference?
Yeah, I don't think I anticipate any of that happening in the American Conference because we're strong enough with basketball, football, and other sports to kind of carry. And then our donors, boosters, and all that, they're even though it's a pandemic, I think we're able to hang on because it was only for a certain amount of months. I think that we were strong enough with our TV deal and things that our commissioner has done for our conference to be able to sustain better than other conferences. But other conferences just don't have the donors, the boosters, nor the TV deals.
It makes total sense. What we'll do is we'll go and I toss a couple of questions that a lot of the fans who are watching right now, the viewers that are watching right now, we're streaming live YouTube and Facebook. If you're watching right now, yes, this is legendary, living legend, Penny Hardaway, live with us on the Chop Chop. And we're going to ask you to share the show to your timelines, to your friends, as well as your basketball groups that you may be a part of. And wake them on up, tell them to come on in and present their questions as well.
I got a question, Jimmy, from someone on the Facebook feed. Jimmy, Penny, I don't know if you know, we're broadcasting simultaneously on YouTube Live and Facebook Live all over the country. So, but one of the people from YouTube asked, how has this virus affected your recruitment this season?
Well, the virus has affected us because there's nothing more powerful for a coach to drive up to a parent's house and go into their living room, shake the hand of the father, hug the mom, look the kid in his eyes, and being eye to eye. There's nothing that can replace that. Obviously, we have Zoom calls, we have Skype, we have FaceTime, we have all of that, but it's affected us because you can't get personable with the family. You can't sit in their living room and tell them what you're going to do for their son, basketball-wise, academically, off the court, all those different things. We're talking to them like this, and it's not as personable. So for me, it took their personable touch out when you can't go to someone's house because of the pandemic.
Indeed, another good question is coming from my Facebook feed. That last question was from YouTube. Now on the Facebook feed, and it's from a female. She says, "Is anything in The Last Dance that you did not know?"
A lot of stuff is in The Last Dance that I didn't know. A ton of stuff is in The Last Dance I didn't know. So much.
Give us two that comes to the forefront. Two things.
It's really enlightening. First of all, I knew MJ was tough on teammates, but I didn't know that he and Scottie were on Jerry Krause that hard. It's unusual for players to attack a general manager of that magnitude like they did. Man, I was really shocked, like in Florida, because that just doesn't happen. That lets you know how much power MJ and Scottie had because they were on him really tough. Secondly, I don't remember Dennis doing all that he did during the season.
Yeah.
I don't remember him taking a hiatus to go to Vegas. I don't remember him going to wrestle with Hulk Hogan. If I did, I didn't think that was during the playoffs. I mean, they were really wilding out, bro. The Bulls were, and still getting it done.
What else you got? Oh, Jimmy, they got somebody else. They said transitioning college coaching. What was your aha moment in terms of recruiting when you came from the grassroots ranks to college coach? What was your aha moment? You said, "Wow."
To me, what was my aha moment is that one day you can have a kid really going, and then the next day it could be somebody else. Because they're kids. They're so impressionable. And it's almost like when you get down to the last 5 schools that a kid wants to go to, it's whoever has the last great speech last is the way the kid wants to go. So for me, heartbroken by a couple kids that you thought that you really had, and then obviously they just, they go the other way. And that's what makes it tough.
Indeed. And now,
hey, hold up. Latrice Hughes, she talking about major crush on Penny. Then she talking about typo.
Thank you very much.
Now, Penny, for the people that are watching right now, are your marital status? Are you married?
I'm not married, but you're gonna get me jumped on.
Okay. I just want to put it out there. That way, you got the disclaimer out there. Now we can proceed.
But I'm not married.
We can proceed with the convo. And now, I mean, this is going to be great. It's going to be very intriguing. And one is last week, young man DeAndre Williams. Now, NCAA rules prevent college coaches from speaking publicly about any prospect who have yet to sign the paperwork. So therefore, not sure if this young man is actually signed or not. But DeAndre Williams is from Houston. He played basketball at Klein Forest as well as the homeschooled route. You guys may remember the days of J.J. Caldwell, who went to Texas A&M and ended up at New Mexico this past season. He's in the transfer portal right now. Now, you just got a huge commitment from DeAndre Williams. He was at Evansville. Mm-hmm. How did that, just take us briefly through, how did that spiral? How did his name come across your desk? And how do you close the deal?
Well, first of all, to talk about the compliance part of it, he has signed, sealed, and delivered, so I can't speak on him being with us. I met DeAndre's prep school coach through a mutual friend. And he was always a fan of mine. He reached out to me when DeAndre went into the portal to basically just talk basketball. I mean, we just talked basketball. And then when I saw DeAndre in the portal, I asked him, I was like, well, you coach DeAndre, what's his deal? He was like, well, he's going to try the NBA. Because initially he was just going to leave Evansville and go to the NBA.
Really?
A ton of problems at Evansville. Obviously, Walter McCarty got let go. And then he had 2 other coaches during the season. Then he had a back problem. And then he was like, I'm just going to go pro. And I called him and was like, well, if he's in the portal, I'm able to call. Do you mind if I call? So he gave me DeAndre's number. I had already seen the game against Kentucky. I looked at some of his highlights and was like, man, he's a really skilled big. In our program, with the way that we play in our offense, he would kill it. So I called DeAndre, started speaking to him, and instantly we just kind of hit it off. And for like the next 3 or 4 weeks, the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it was like easy going, spoke to the mother, spoke to DeAndre, and everything was going good. And then Kentucky came in, and then it became a battle. But honestly, DeAndre, he and I just got a really good bond early, and ultimately that's why he chose to come to Memphis, because I made him feel comfortable. And I think from his prep school coach being almost like a father figure, Walter McCarty kind of being in that same shadow, when he and I started talking, he felt very comfortable with the relationship and ultimately signed and committed and signed with us.
And you mentioned you called one of the influencers, and just whenever you're going to talk, I'm going to spread it out in general. And a lot of people doesn't understand as far as the waves of recruiting at a certain levels. How important is, or how often does a recruit, a prospect that's coming that you're recruiting, has a person that's involved in the process that isn't blood related to them?
Oh, there's a lot of situations. I mean, you don't really go through those people, but there are a lot of people who are involved. I call it connecting the dots. I think that when you initially hear about a kid, you call his parents. If he's of age, or if he's a transfer, you definitely could call him because he's old enough. But there's certain limitations that we have on what time or when we can start calling the kid to start recruiting. But ultimately, if a guy's a junior, senior, or even like a transfer, there are always other guys involved who are on their team that are trying to help give them guidance on making the right decision on where they want to go next or where they want to go.
We got tons of questions for him.
Man,
How do you got
so many? Let me give you one. Somebody just sent me a couple of good. Oh, they wanted to know, how is it coaching your son at your school and you're coaching your son? How is that? How I feel?
You know, it's pretty cool. It was weird when I started. I started coaching him in AAU and then high school. Okay. And then as he got older, I started to really appreciate the father-son bond that we have. And yeah, it's been pretty cool coaching him in college, in high school, AAU, and college.
Okay. What you got, Jim?
What? And the next question is, what was it about Boogie Egg Ellis that attracted you? And other than being a freshman, why was it such an adjustment for him? It's from our YouTube page.
Well, you know, in basketball, you know, your reputation precedes you, meaning like Boogie has always been that scorer. And when I saw him play in the Peace Jam last year, Boogie Ellis had every coach in America going crazy because I think he averaged like 30 points a game and didn't miss, hardly miss. He shot like maybe 70 or 80% from three. He was not missing. It was like a performance like you've never seen before in a tournament. Every game he brought it. And the gym was just jam-packed with coaches. And we started recruiting him and know that he had been hidden for a lot of years, kind of playing on like the little mom and pop AAU teams with his boys.
Mm-hmm.
One year he branched out and played on the EYBL with the Soldiers and became an overnight sensation pretty much. Everybody on the West Coast knew about him, but everybody nationally was just getting to know him. So we recruited him and he ultimately signed with Duke. And then they recruited over his head. He got out of his deal and opened up his recruitment again. And we went back in. Mm-hmm. And the second round, we were better at getting him, and he ultimately signed with us. And he just had the freshman blues this year.
Right.
You know, playing new position, being away from the West Coast, coming down south. He's his biggest critic, man. He knows that he did not perform at the level that he could possibly have done, but we stuck with him and kept trying to push him in the right direction. But definitely he's going to be better this year for sure.
You hear that, Hatter?
What?
He definitely going to be better this year.
Yeah, I know.
Now,
he was pissing me off last year. Yeah, he was pissing me off. That's the coach. Hey, that's the coach. I'm alumni. He pissing me off.
Now, another question, taking you back to the NBA days.
Hold up, Penny said something, Jamie. Hold up. What'd you say, Penny?
What I was saying, to Boogie's credit, he's our hardest worker, man. So believe me, he understood that he wasn't playing up to his potential. So he's working his butt off to get right. Yeah. Mr. Hatter.
Yeah. Now, taking it back to the NBA, Penny, here's another question from one of the viewers, and it says that Penny and the Magic, you were the first team to beat the 72-10 Bulls that season, right? And in one of those games that season you had 36 points and 0 assists. Was that the only game you had such an offensive explosion without any dimes dished out?
Yeah. So I kind of went and gathered my inner Michael Jordan and went to the scoring mode. But no, I did that. That was one game. I can't believe I didn't have any assists. I don't know what I was doing that game, but usually I'm going to get some dimes. For me not to have dimes,
you was hogging.
Hand the games that I didn't have an assist. That might have been one of one. I have to do the research, but I don't remember not ever having dimes.
I don't remember that game.
I remember the game, but I don't remember me not having any assists. And I do remember Shaq not playing that game, so maybe big fella being out, I felt like I had to shoulder the load.
Oh, okay. And now,
what else you got? Somebody said, okay, somebody else called in and said, do you love college or do you want a future? Would you coach pro basketball too? or you just love college?
I love this level because there's still so much that you can teach a kid. I enjoy the teaching part of it. And even though the league is so young, all those guys need teaching as well, if you ask the NBA coaches. Mm-hmm. But right now, I'm comfortable with what I'm doing in the NCAA. I'm not going to ever say never, that I would never want to coach in the NBA because you never know what the future holds. But right now, I'm comfortable with just being in the NCAA.
Yeah.
Now, recruiting networks, there's another question. Are recruiting networks impactful? That mean like scouting services and whatnot. How do you utilize them, and how do you feel about them?
We utilize the services because we know that those guys work hard on giving information about kids. But when you're a basketball player, I played the game at the highest level, you kind of know who's who in every class because you got social media, and social media and YouTube shows you everybody anyway. But I do respect, we subscribe to a couple of the companies that send us the information, but that's just out of respect. But we really just go off feel and understanding what's going on and word of mouth.
I got something for Penny. It was so unique. About a month ago, we had Rod Hampton on our show, and and he went on and raved about you and his relationship. He said when he got back from Australia that y'all hooked up, y'all talked on the phone, and he told you point blank. He said, "Hey man," you told him, "Man, if anything the kid need, if he needs some help, get with me and let's make it happen." And he said, Rob, on this show, he said, "Man, most people don't do that. Most coaches don't do that. But Penny was a man of his word." And could you tell us about that? It was a unique dynamic because he came. Now you on the show, but he came and said he was going to seek you out because of your affinity and your love for his son.
Yeah, I guess about a month and a half ago, I was thinking about Rod and RJ, and obviously when he went over to New Zealand, I was always thinking about his health and how he was doing because that was a big jump. We built a good relationship while I was recruiting him last year, even though he chose to go overseas, and I understood why. But that didn't put me in a mindset where I never felt like I wanted the best for RJ.
Right.
You kind of when you start recruiting kids, you start building that bond. And a couple months ago, I just reached out and was like, "Man, how are you guys doing? Let me know if you need me. I'm still a huge fan of RJ's." And he was like, "Absolutely, I'll take you up on that." And we just kept communicating and then made it happen. But yeah, I think that was just one of those situations where the previous relationship just kind of stayed intact, and we're moving forward on it.
I got another one for you, Jimmy. Let me give you. They said, "How does it feel to be as talented as anyone ever, but because of injury, not being mentioned as one of the greatest ever?"
Yeah, that's kind of weird because you can't. We live in a woulda, coulda, shoulda, and I would have, and all that type of stuff, type of world.
Right.
But I had it rolling as high as anybody could have had it rolling in the first 6 years of my career.
Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest.
I'm saying at the highest level. Obviously, everybody knows like the last 6, 7 years of my career were injury riddled and me just trying to, piece it together. But in the first 7, 8 years of my career, man, they could say that I was second to nobody. Right. In my prime. And sometimes when they're talking about the greatest, I understand that you have to show and tell, meaning like the guys that they're talking about didn't get injured maybe until later in their career or never got injured and were able to put up numbers and win championships or either just kind of put up phenomenal type numbers. And I was on my way until the injuries happened. But yeah, to answer that question, it does bother me when they talk about the greats that they don't mention me as, hey man, before he got injured. They mentioned Grant Hill a lot.
Yes.
Which for Grant. But they never really mentioned me or Chris Webber in those breaths, and that's a little unfortunate.
Jimmy?
And another question is from Jacoby. He says, how did you feel about Michael Jordan wearing your shoes in that playoff game?
It shocked me because I'm a sneakerhead, and I always would look at MJ's shoes that he wore. And for whatever reason, that game that I looked at his feet, he had on my shoes, and I was like, wow. Like, in amazement, like, I can't believe he's wearing my shoes. I don't know why he wasn't wearing his own. It really shocked me. But I had to lock in, on kind of going at him, so I couldn't really relish in it too long because I saw it before the game. But after the game was over, I was like, man, that's pretty cool. He wore my shoes.
Also, I mean, I'm loving it, guys. Keep the questions coming.
They going crazy. Hey, hold up. I got to stop. Hey, these women are going crazy on this thing, Penny. Talking about they don't care what nobody said. You the best. You the greatest.
Well, that's cool. I'm reading it too. I mean,
and guess what? I'm not gonna tell you her name, but her name starts with Ashley Jones.
And so now, of course, Gary asked, have there been any consideration to bringing back that little penny commercial, like a 20 or 25-year anniversary or something?
Nike is very calculated and brilliant when it comes to marketing and timing on things of that nature. So I'm sure that they'll be doing something major when that time comes around, and I'll be ready for it. I'm always going to welcome something that was a huge part of my life, my career, my history. So yeah, I think that Nike they're smart enough to understand how to capitalize off of that.
And then next up, what do you think, right, about, of course, now a lot of guys may not understand the new G League initiative is rumored to be coached by your former assistant coach at Memphis, right?
Yeah.
And so the question is from Todd, said, what do you think about that about the program and for the kids that are going into it, which they have about 4 or 5 that are committed? What do you think is going to happen? And based on, give us something juicy about that league that we didn't know, about the team. I'm sorry.
I don't give you the obvious, but I can give you also my opinion on it. The obvious is that initially I thought that they were going into the G League with all the other wolves and all those savages, with those sharks. But then I found out that they were putting a team together just built with those kids, and then they were going to develop them, and then they were going to do some scrimmages, but they were going to try to develop them to be better than where they are right now, skill-wise or whatever, and they would be coached by Sam Mitchell and things of that nature. I'm not mad at that, because if a kid doesn't want to go to college, I would rather him go to the G League than go overseas, even though I think the G League was overseas was paying more money until the G League upped their money. Mm-hmm. But I would rather them stay in the States and go through their program versus going overseas. So that's my spiel on that. The one problem I had, and people kind of took it out of context, but I really stand on this, is I feel like not just because I'm a college coach, but just the purity of what someone gives you their word. Once they commit or sign to a college, I don't think that you should still keep recruiting that kid to keep trying to get them out of their situation. And that was the only thing that I had. But I'm all for a kid that doesn't want to go to college, that's deciding to go G League or overseas. Man, I'm all about G League and the development of what they're going to do, especially the way that they're doing it now. They gave them more money and they're helping them. But I just don't like when the kid, Deshaun Nix, left UCLA, they kind of rubbed me wrong a little bit, because I didn't like that happened that way. That was just my opinion on that.
I got another one for you, Penny. What are your thoughts about college basketball from the perspective of an African-American coach, and what was the deal between you and Rick Barnes?
I mean, we're a minority on this level. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's only a few of us, and I think everybody is definitely worthy of their position. I got questioned about, could I coach, could I recruit? Yeah. Now I'm recruiting. They're asking, well, he can recruit, but can he coach them? So you're always going to get challenged in life, and that's fine, because that's a part of life. The thing that happened with me and Coach Barnes, which we really kind of had a great conversation this year when we went to Tennessee, and have kind of squashed that. We took a ton. If you remember that game, we took a ton of charges in that game, and more than half of them got called for blocks or flops. Mm-hmm. And after the game, we all know that's a part of the game, the charges. After the game, Coach Barnes made a comment like, isn't a flop a technical in the NBA? They stopped trying to get people to flop in the NBA. Mm-hmm. So if you flop in the NBA, it's supposed to be a technical.
Right.
So he made a reference to our team as floppers more so than trying to play. I mean, we're playing against the number 1 team in the country. They had a monster squad. They were well coached, and we were trying to do whatever we could to win the game at home, which was our, most sold out game. So when he said that, I kind of got offended, went a little overboard with my comments, but at the time I was just really protecting my team. And when me and Coach Barnes saw each other this year, man, it was really great to have the handshake and the conversation that we had, and we just made the water under the bridge. So we're good.
Awesome.
And that's great to know. And so now, of course, if you're just tuning in, yes, this is indeed Penny Hardaway live with us on the Chop Shop. Coming up at the top of the hour, our guests, we're going to be joined by Greg Wise of Houston Yates High School, Jack Yates High School, and that's going to be a hell of a combo as well. And so you guys, I want to ask you to get back into the recruiting aspect. The NCAA has dispersed and canceled the July live period. Mm-hmm. What are you hearing that may be a solution for as college Division I coaches being able to possibly get back out in the fall? Is that a reality?
I think that is a reality. I think ultimately when they get things rolling again and start allowing people on campus, I think that is a reality. We are still in the pandemic, and people are still seeing this thing through for the next 2 or 3 years, that it's not just going to end because we're opening things back up. So we have to be careful. But ultimately, I think that we will be able to get back out and see families on the road.
And now, I want to give a shout out to Ricky Scott down in the Galveston area, and he says that appreciate you guys having a Kappa man on the call.
That's right. That's right.
Now, taking you back to your days, you pledged that's your fraternity was Kappa Alpha Psi at Memphis. What was the most how would I say astonishing thing that happened to you while you were pledging?
Man, you know what? I've told this story to a number of people on the night that we crossed. A rival guy from a rival high school. He was a Kappa. He went to school, maybe TSU or one of the HBCUs. He came back for the crossing because most of the brothers are going to come back for that night, especially with me being online. Everybody came out. And in high school, we hated each other, our school and his school. So when I was in line getting ready to go across one of our rituals or whatever, he was standing right outside the circle, and we were all blindfolded. As I'm walking through and doing the ritual, he swung on me and hit me in my face while I had the blindfold on to take a cheap shot at me while I was going through the ritual. And at the time, you can't take your blindfold off. You can't do nothing. It just made me, I went to take my blindfold off to see who did it, but they pushed me back in. But my guys that were in the circle took care of the situation, but that's the craziest thing that happened to me. He actually hit me in my face while I was blindfolded walking through the ritual.
Send me that name. Send me that name when I get through. When we get off the show. Hey, hold up. Guess what? No, I got to have him something. We got a coach. Walk with me here, Penny. Walk with me here, right? We got a coach that's on this feed. He's happened to be the high school coach of a very, very prominent player in Houston. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right. A player that I know a little bit, okay? So he said he gave you his athletic period, exactly what time this player practiced on his athletic period, and he posted it on the feed. His name is Coach Stephen Woods, and he posted, he said, I think what time? He said, Penny, my athletic period is 11:45 to 2:30. 12:20. And I know you can't say nothing about it, but I can say something about it. Stephen Woods, he just posted his athletic period on the Facebook feed. Okay. So what else you got, Jimmy?
Another question is, when you were coming up, right, who did you look up to? What college and NBA player were your favorites?
Like early on in my life, like when I was around 10, maybe, I was more in the NBA. I didn't even think about college. It was all about watching the Philadelphia 76ers, the Lakers, and the Celtics, because those were the only three teams pretty much in our region that were on TV all the time. The Lakers with Magic and Kareem, the 76ers with Dr. J, of course, Moses Malone, and then the Celtics with Larry Bird and those guys. So I was really into those 3 teams, and I was a Magic fan. Then they showed the Spurs sometimes with the Ice. Can't forget about Iceman. So between Magic and George Gervin, Dr. J, I was a Dr. J fan, but I was more into how Iceman moved and how Magic played, more so than Dr. J. So I was a fan of those guys. As I got older, about 14, we really had some monster teams at the University of Memphis. They were Memphis State back then with Keith Lee, Andre Turner, William Bedford, all those guys. We went to the Final Four. We had some monster teams. So during that time, I was always a fan of Magic and George Gervin until George Gervin retired. And then my colleges became only Memphis State. It was just Memphis State because I was a homer.
And now, got another good question for you. What's your thought? Well, I know you've been, and I hate asking questions. I know people been asked 100 times, but I'm gonna tie it into another question.
Okay.
That way, the second one is more important. What are your thoughts on the name, image, likeness situation with the NCAA, and more so, what if they had the name, image, likeness during the 90s when you were in college?
Oh, wow.
How would give us an example how that would have transpired?
Well, I'm all for that because I'm for kids being allowed to make, money on their name and likeness. I think the NCAA is taking a step in the right direction. I think their hands were forced because of what the G League is doing, but I do like that it's going to move forward. Now, we don't know what restrictions are going to be on that because they're not going to vote on it until probably next year, or it probably won't come into play until next year, but I do like the direction that they're going in. And for me, coming out of high school, if that would have been going on, man, we would have moved it on up like George and Wheezy.
Wow.
Now, we got a couple quick. We're ready to land this plane, which we got a couple more questions. Only a couple more.
Yeah.
One of them is somebody asked, "How's the guy from Olive Branch doing?"
Must be talking about DJ.
Our best player.
Yeah.
Will be coming back next year fully healthy. He's fully healthy right now. To me, one of the most talented guys in the country, top 10. I'm with him, like talking to him daily, working on his mental, physically, man, just incredible, and looking for big things out of him next year.
And Penny, I would like to say Houston don't really know you as much. And when you leave the show today, you can give the Houston area kids, the Dallas, they watching this show in Dallas, the area kids, they get a chance to have an in-home with you right now. I know they watching your personality, and I know they see some of the parents and the moms saying Memphis got a jewel in you. But what would you want to say to the parents and the kids? Because you had 2 guards this year from Houston that cost us a couple of wins. Kendrick Perkins, Kendrick Davis, and Xavier Wheeler, and just what are your plans? I know whatever you can say within your restrictions and what you can say. Just in recruiting, what would you have, and what would you give the parents and the kids out here? This your in-home right now with the Houston parents.
Well, the only thing I can say for me as a coach and what my staff is all about is we're about doing right. I didn't get into this business for the money. I didn't get into this business to get wins. I got into this business to change lives. And we're going to change your son's life off the court and on the court. Academically, 2 years in a row, I've broken the academic GPA 2 years in a row, so I'm very proud of that. I'm probably the only coach in America that checks classes and study halls. So you're going to get the total package with me and know that he's going to be taken care of when he leaves your possession and comes into our possession. So our whole thing is at Memphis is family atmosphere and family for life.
And also, one of the questions I have, and that is from Kevin on our YouTube feed. He said, "Do you often get a chance to communicate or bounce ideas off of guys, fellow African American coaches such as Juwan Howard that have went from the NBA to college? And also, what's your thoughts on the current state of the African American head coach in the NCAA?"
First of all, it's I keep in touch with a couple coaches main Conzo Martin from Missouri. We'll touch bases every now and then. That's probably the most main one. Maybe Coach Hamilton, when I see him, he always gives me nuggets and jewels. That's why I love him so much, because he's always trying to pass on information to make our lives easier on this level. But we haven't done it enough. I mean, what I'll do is if I see a coach win a big game, I'll text, "Hey man, huge win," and that's about it. But we don't really bounce things off of each other, to me, enough. And I'm all for that, because we got to get back to the support of one another.
Another parent asks, why you got so many guards on your roster?
Well, I mean, to me, if you look at any NCAA, the way you win national championships is with guards. And I think you can be guard heavy in that aspect. And the good thing is you have so many different variations of guards, your defenders, your scorers, your shooters. So they all mesh together well, especially in our system. We play an NBA-style system, so sometimes we'll have 4 guards on the floor and 1 hybrid big, and that's the way the game is going. So that's why we have so many guards.
Jimmy?
Now, lastly, great land the plane. Give us your most intriguing story about Bobby Hatter.
Ooh,
Hey man.
Oh wow.
That's my popular demand on our Facebook feed from the ladies out there watching. Give us the most popular, most intriguing Bobby Hatter story.
I have a million of them because I've been around him since I was 18. One, I could say, we were out in Los Angeles, and I mess with him about this all the time. And I was filming the movie Blue Chips. And he was out in LA with me, and I had a friend of mine, and Carlos Jackson, who he and Bobby were like, they bumped heads and rivaled the whole time because Carlos was just so annoying, and Bobby was always trying to handle business. So I talked him into playing a one-on-one, and against each other to try to seal the deal. And Bobby, I think Bobby beat him, and after Bobby played the game, he collapsed right on the floor, just fell out on the floor, just laid like perfectly in the middle of the paint and just had his arms back and was out. And Carlos took a half-court shot, and the ball hit all glass and hit Bobby right in the gut. Boom! He wanted to fight him. He wanted to fight him, man. I'll never forget that day. That was hilarious. You had to know the history between those two. He got done playing one-on-one. An intense battle, and Carlos shot a half-court shot, and the ball went out the backboard and hit Robert right in the stomach, and you should have seen Robert.
Hey, man, I ain't want that story told. I'm over here crying right now because I remember exactly what happened. That hurt.
We appreciate, man, everything, man. Thanks so much for chopping up with us on the Chop Shop, man. And what's the social media page for a lot of the viewers? They want to follow Memphis basketball. Where can they go?
It's Memphis men's basketball, and that's all it is. You punch in Memphis men's basketball, it's going to pop up on our page. And, of course, I Am 1 Cent is my page on Twitter and Instagram.
Hey, by popular demand, you gave that one story.
Hold on. Let me get my man. Hold on. I can get my man. Hold on, I got to get
Okay. Do you have any knowledge about that when Bill Fitch was the coach of the Rockets?
Oh, I do.
Did Robert Hatter go try for the Rockets?
I'm going to click you off the screen.
Yeah. Robert Hatter was one. He had just moved from Memphis to Houston, and he was playing ball with all the guys at Fundy Gym. Everybody knows the most famous Fundy Gym. Everybody's been there. So Robert Hatter was having like good days against the pros and the guys that played for the Rockets. So they got him a workout with the Houston Rockets, and Bill Fitch had him come in to shoot some jumpers.
Okay.
See, Robert Hatter that played pickup ball is a different Robert Hatter now when he got to show and prove with Bill Fitch one-on-one. So they had a shooting guard at the time. Was it Allen Level? Allen Level couldn't make these shots that Bobby Hatter was challenged to try to make as well. We see you hooping at Fundy. We see you shooting with your butt out and your lips out and all that at Fundy to make a lot of jumpers. But can you do this in our gym with all this pressure on you. And he went around the world and shot some jumpers, and they pat him on the back and said, we'll get back in touch with you. No, because he didn't make the same amount of shots that Alan Level could make, so they knew that he was gone.
Hey, man.
So that's the story.
Get him off the screen, man.
Say, man, I gotta go put something in my cup after that conversation, man. This water just ain't enough. I need some more hydration after that one. Hey, man, we gonna talk about that next time I see you, Penny. We appreciate it, man.
Coach.
Thanks so much for chopping up with us on the Chop Shop, man. Ain't nothing like the Chop Shop, guys.
Hey, hold on. Penny, make sure you hit that red button when you get out. Okay, baby. Talk to you later.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
And of course, that is the Penny Hardaway, guys, head men's basketball at the University of Memphis, and great combo as well. He's a return guest on the Chop Shop. He's been on about 4 times with us, and he comes in and never cease to let you guys down and entertain you and inform you, educate you as well.
And Jimmy, I like it. Okay, Jimmy, it was a spur of the moment. You know, this was Greg Wise show, and Penny just called me this morning. He said, man, I'm ready. I know I'd have missed a couple of times. So he just wanted to make good on a promise. Because if y'all remember, I used to say we're going to have a special guest. Special guest, then something happened. But this pandemic, it slows everybody down. So he said, man, I'm coming in and do it as soon as it happens. So, y'all, we used to have, let me tell you something. He's a unique person to work with because he listened. Latrice Hughes and Tiffany Collins and Bobby Benjamin. He was one of the athletes. We didn't always see eye to eye. And Jimmy, I was laughing at you because he had a friend, Carlos. I love Carlos, but dude, when I go to LA and everything, I was out there to take care of business. I wasn't out there to play around. It was time. We had to make sure Shaq and Penny hook up. We had to make sure all of this stuff happens for us to make this thing work. Greg Wise just popped on the screen, but I'm gonna pop him right back off. But no, it's good. But he listened. You know, a lot of athletes, think about it, Jimmy. This is what y'all don't understand. And Greg Wise is gonna help me out with this. That's his money. He can do whatever he wants to do with his money. I can't tell him. All I can do is give him advice. And the young man took the advice and he ran with it. That's why he can live the way he can now and do everything. And we didn't talk about how Natalie dressed. He be on the sideline. He one of the best dressed coaches in the NBA. In college basketball. But the young man, listen, mamas, Lori, the people who got NBA kids, players, if your kid listen to the right people, he'll be all right. And Penny we had an umbrella around him, took a team of us to make sure he's successful enough and he's able to come on this show today and just be real. And we always this how we always did it. And he did some crazy stuff to me. Wait till I tell y'all some of his stories. But Jimmy, I'll let you introduce the next guest. And thank you so much, Penny. But this next guest is off chain. Let's go.
Yeah. And by popular demand, we have coming back with us. But first, I want to acknowledge and dedicate today's show. In recent Incarnate Word head coach Kenny Burmeister has passed away.
What?
After he concealed his bout with cancer for a couple of years from most people. A lot of people were not aware. I was not aware. And he's passed away. And so Burmy, man, I mean, one of the coolest coaches out there. I mean, when he was removed recently from Incarnate Word, that's a Division I college, it's part of the Southland Conference. It was felt with great backlash from a lot of people in the basketball community because that team, it was like I mean, they were right in place to start moving the needle with their program. They had already produced Denzel Livingston from Waltrip High School, who had went and got a playing professionally. So that means that's what kids want to know. They're going to your college and you have an opportunity to go make money playing to extending their career, then you're favorable. At the time, he had little John Smith as the assistant coach, but we were greatly missed. Ken Burmeister, appreciate it, man. So now, as we put air back in the tires, we have with us Greg Wise. He's the head coach of Jack Yates High School basketball. 7 state appearances since 2009, including 2019 and 20, the magical 2020 season that did not end. And as a result, of course, from UIL, based on their decision on the governor's action to cancel all scholastic activities through the rest of the 2019-20 calendar. But we got Greg with us, and let me tell you something. Last time you were on a couple of weeks ago, we had you and the other coaches, and one of the topics was about putting some type of closure, and you had suggested that your team would have been willing to travel all the way to Dallas if it need be to play Dallas Fate Family without the coaches on the court in respect to the UIL, to the scholastic rules. After the show, you went and called the coach. What happened?
Let me say this first. I just got off on a serious. I'm fun in a minute, but Burmeister. When I was deciding what college I was going to go to, and Burmeister was the assistant coach at Texas Arlington, and he recruited me as hard as anybody. He was a great recruiter. So it came down to those 2 schools. So I just want to, send my condolences to him, because I remember him from back when I come out of high school and how hard he recruited and liked me. So, the other thing, man, y'all gonna bring me in after Penny Hardaway? Bring me in. I thought y'all my guys, man. Supposed to make me look. Bring me in.
Go.
Bring me in after somebody that they want to play me, and then they change their mind and don't play me so I can look good. Bring me in after somebody like that. Somebody that said, man, we play basketball here and we good, and bring me in after somebody like that. That way I don't bring me after Penny, man. Come on.
Coach, guess what I feel, Coach? Nothing but the best for the best. We feel you the best, so we had to bring in the best. He was your opening. Hold up. He was your opening act. You, Charlie Wilson, you gonna close the show, baby.
All right. So what was the question? Here? I kind of alluded to a little bit. If you kind of heard what I said, I was kind of talking about that a little bit. Bring me in after somebody that said they'll play me, and then after a while you can't find them. Then I'm gonna look really good. You bring me in after somebody like that. How about that?
I believe that long.
So now, has the sting from the UIL's decision to cancel the boys' state tournament, has it dissolved, or is there still a desire for you guys to go and try to get to play the team, which obviously they did not feel the same desire to do so, and to satisfy the thirst of the idea which Hannah presented a couple of weeks back?
So to answer the question, I mean it's only fueled it even more if you go by look at what the UIL decided, whereas in a week they kind of letting people come back and do strength and conditioning and in the schools, and summer school is opening back up on January the 2nd. And so when you look at that, I mean, I'm even past that.
June the 2nd.
June the 2nd, yeah. So I'm even past that in terms of I almost wish the UIL hadn't hadn't, made their decision so quick. And I understand why they did, because at that time you thinking if they shutting down schools, you thinking everything shut down, and I was thinking the same way. But that thing gonna come back so quick. They done opened up things and got it to where you can even attend summer school June 2nd. So to have a game where you don't have any fans and nobody but the teams in there, you stream it. I think if they had held off, they might have still allowed us to play that game, even past what you just mentioned in terms of us trying to get that game in. Having said that, so maybe hopefully they can rethink it. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with rethinking that and saying, man, they can open this stuff back up and maybe we can still do something. I know that's far fetched, but if you don't think of great things to happen, they'll never happen. So now in terms of playing, I mean, it should even be even easier now. I mean, they got everything opening up, and I heard yesterday somebody on one of the groups speaking with you guys yesterday. They're having a tournament this weekend, right?
Well, that's what was announced yesterday, and that was before the governor made his recommendations yesterday after the show. So I've yet to confirm from Jerry over at the gym if they are still proceeding with what they were planning to do this Saturday. So I will have to confirm with that. But yes, he did mention it during the show. But that was before the governor sent out their announcements yesterday evening.
So with what you guys think, and look, if everything's opening up and it's not even June yet, a whole month from now, in terms of somebody being able to play, I see that as being something that could be easily and safely, which would be the most important thing, but easily and safely done. To answer your question.
And so now we have some questions before they start the backlogging up, and we don't want to do that. We'll get to some of these questions that people are asking you already. And one is, all these questions are easy for you. Somebody asked first, and it went back 10 years ago to 2010, and they say, why didn't Snap Peters, why didn't he go more mainstream? And was it grades, talent level, his focus? Did the numbers hold him out? And I'm like, and I can easily answer that, but I'll toss it to you because that question is for you.
So when you say mainstream, you mean a higher Division I? Is that kind of what he means?
I would assume because he played grassroots with the highest level that you could play. He played on the sneaker sponsored program. And so I guess they probably remained, people knew about him. But so what do you think? I guess if you say why he didn't go to a larger school, I guess that's the way to interpret it.
So I would put that in three ways. You know how there's a lot of kids that toward the end of the year, coaches may not think that they're going to make it and be qualified. And so that was one of the things with Snap when I first got there, which was after his sophomore year. His grades were not where they needed to be. And then obviously once I got there and once Dooley got a hold of him, we picked that up. But if you're a college coach and you're looking at somebody's transcript when they freshman and sophomore year and you're kind of anticipating if they're going to be eligible, then, there's no way you would have looked at it at that time and thought that he would have qualified. And that's how some schools get great players at the end of the year, get lucky with players that are better than what their program is because the bigger schools think they're not going to make it. So that was the main thing with him. And then when you look at it, as great of a player he was 6'1" and more of a inside player that was working on his outside game. So going into college at that time, a good Division I school, that probably was a good spot for him. You don't want to go to a bigger school trying to learn how to play guard and then not play.
Okay, I got something for you, G. They said somebody, Rick from the Facebook feed, he just asked, Yates' last loss was against a mighty number one ranked Montverde Academy. How good is that team that beat us? And are they capable of beating lower tier college teams?
To answer how good they were, it's hard for me to say because we were really shorthanded. 3 starters and 4 out of our top 9 players wasn't playing, so we were really shorthanded. So it's kind of hard if it had been our team that we had at the end of the year playing against them, where you could really tell apples to apples. Obviously, great talents, and the first 6 or 7 guys are super talented. In terms of thinking if they could be smaller schools, I would think so. I would think so.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a good question. A lot of people realize this Montverde team is considered already to be one of the top 3 high school teams of all time. So already, and this, I mean, in an incomplete season, a fragmented season, well, not necessarily fragmented, but incomplete, we would say. So that team was good for those who didn't see it. They were pretty doggone. Understand? They also beat Duncanville by almost 40. Right? So understand, in consecutive days, it wasn't just they rolled through. That was common ground. Also, so next question up, Coach, we have what's the reason for a person to say they don't live in Houston? So what's the reason you choose and how did you choose your style that you use?
Good question.
It kind of that's just the style that I like, and I was watching back if you remember back when Florida was playing for those national championships and Rick Pitino and those guys and I just love how teams, when teams go to practice in the beginning of the year, the first thing they want to do is work on their offense, their man offense, and that kind of thing. And Florida was taking the best teams in the country out of what they do, and they were like, some of them were like, they were confused and puzzled. You look at them, they didn't really know what to do because they wasn't allowing them to run their offense. And then I look at it on the opposite side. I said, man, if that was somebody doing that to me, it would be hard because we work on our man offense just like everybody else. So, and the more you do things, the better you get at it. And if you do things sometime and then sometime you try and go do something else and then you try and do something else, you'll never be great at it. And so I love that style. So I just decided to try and be great in terms of studying it and making adjustments. And then some things, if you do it all the time, it just happens by accident. I'll give you an example. We do some pressing and trapping after missed shots. And I got that. Actually, luckily, we were pressing and we play so hard and the ball go out of bounds and we still trapping. I tell them, I don't care where the ball go, we still trapping until. So it was a missed shot and the ball was going, and we normally, instead of going back on defense, their mindset was so in terms of trapping and snapping. Pete went over and trapped the guy. And he didn't know what to do. And I say, damn. So from that's when we just started doing that all the time. And then as you do things, you can vary it. And sometimes we trap the guard. Sometimes we wait till he passes to the big man. Sometimes we wait till he bring it up and start getting out of control. So it's not just one particular trap. It's 4 or 5. And give an example. I know Hicks, who's a basketball thinker and go online and be telling people what we do sometimes in terms of our press. But that
I don't tell them how you do it. I don't tell them how you do it though. I tell them what you do, not how.
Yeah. I just say this, there's some times when people think we're all trapping up and they done got used to that and they look long, but we didn't do that. So there's some things out of that that we do different out of, but as you do it, and if you committed to doing something and you do it all the time, you're gonna get better and you're gonna figure out things that nobody else has ever done and ever tried. So that's kind of where it came from watching teams like Florida and when Pitino was doing things and just loving that style. And then our kids, if you play that way, you got to play some kids, and they love playing that way because, for me, if you playing defense, as long as you playing hard and playing defense, I'm going to let you do what you do on the other end. And so they love that style. They love playing that way. And so we don't have a problem with kids wanting to play and wanting to play hard and enjoying what you're doing.
Next up is this past season. No, I couldn't. I thought my thing was malfunction. This past season, Yates didn't play many games during the Christmas break. Was there a particular reason, or were you staggered in the schedule in such fashion this past season?
No, it was kind of two things. One, we were trying to schedule more games on the back end, and we had some games scheduled, and then a couple of those teams backed out at the last minute. You know, we had St. Thomas during January, and we had 2 or 3 other teams that we knew some of our guys would not be able to mid-season. So we wanted to try and get as many as we could on the back end. And we had like 3 or 4 games during that Christmas break, January time, New Year's break that we were supposed to be playing. And they kind of backed out on us, kind of like somebody doing, now. And so that was the reason we had. So it wasn't that we didn't want to play that many games, that we was trying to play as many in January that we could, where we would have our full team and we kind of jail for us getting them to do what we wanted them to do.
And now, also another question. How do you go?
No, keep on going. I'm joining you. I'm answering questions from everybody. You keep on. You got the big dog on today. I'm good.
Yeah. Next question is speaking of the schedule.
I think y'all keep missing something I'm saying kind of on the slide. I really think
you said somebody backing out. You said somebody backed out of a game with you this season. That's coming up for the upcoming season, and we can go there and just get the shovel out. Who backing out of a game with you?
No, I said 3 or 4 teams backed out during January, kind of like somebody doing right now, not later, right now.
That's what I'm saying. So they backing out right now for your upcoming season, right?
No, they backing out right now for this summer, right now.
Oh,
tomorrow.
You know what, Greg?
Next week.
No, Greg. I happen to talk to some people in that area, and let me tell you something. This what I got, and then I'll let y'all add on to it. In Dallas area, they more summer ball centric. High school, when high school season is over, it's over. I'm not thinking about that high school season no more. I'm focusing ahead. They say they focusing on summer basketball or what's going to happen in the beginning. They had no control over that pandemic, and they just want, because I asked, and they said, Rob, that's not going to happen. Said, dude, it's not going to happen. He said, these people don't, high school basketball is good to them, but these people focusing on summer, they understand how important is summer. That's what was told to me, and it's just not going to happen. Hey, I know we want it, and Yates want it, but if you can notice the response on our page that day and the response in our email, not one response came from that area. I tell you one thing about that area. That area is in unison. Somebody must have got on there and said, don't nobody respond to that. Because nobody responded to it on Twitter, on email, nothing talking about we want this to happen. Nobody from that area responded. So I know we can want it all we want to. I don't think, wait a minute, I know that these people here ain't thinking about it no more in Dallas. And that came from their mouth.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the same breath, the same day, in the same show, the head coach at Lancaster was all for it. The head coach at Hightower expressed an interest of making it happen. So understand that everything that happens ain't necessarily, it was, and at the time, it was just to give some people a reason just to go and just, it was a different cause, a different mission. Now understand Greg Wise's mission maybe a little bit more personal on the interior than it seemed like the others. But the thing is, I really personally believe, and it's plain and simple, that understand Yates on paper, just like in 6A, Duncanville on paper was the favorite. On paper, based on their, the season that they had and the strength, what they had, they were the favorite. Now in Houston, we felt Dickinson would have been intriguing and gave them, possibly could have beat them had they match up. Who knows? But they will not. In 5A, Lancaster was the favorite. Now down in Houston, we felt that Hightower could have gave them the business, but it did not, and they would not. But at the same time, they were the favorite. In 4A, Jack Yates was the favorite, even though Fate Family had won the title. They were the favorite. And it was one of those things I really believe that had next year's Fate Family team been the team this year, they would have been more embracing to say, come on with it then, bring it on. It's like on paper.
I agree. I agree with that one. Jimmy, I'm just telling you, I'm hearing it from people close. It wasn't gonna happen.
They didn't want it to happen.
That team, it wasn't gonna happen. That team know Yates was gonna beat the snot out of them. I'm gonna go and say it. They felt Yates was gonna beat the snot out of them. And what the hell to go? What they gonna do that for?
And you know what? Before we get back to Wise, and I want to add this to it. And really and truly, the space where I was coming from was in a similar space for where we were when we helped and galvanized with Glenn Smith and a couple of fellas from Dallas lending their hands, and they helped us with that post-Hurricane Harvey game. When we had some kids from Dallas come down, played against a group of players from Houston. Hatter and James Harden's mom was the coaches for the Houston team. And
the winning team.
Won, I'm saying, but the team that won the game, there was no embarrassing or slighting of the other team.
No, we had fun.
So we encouraged and we embraced everybody. Man, thank y'all for doing this, for and contributing to this experience. That was how I was looking at it. It wasn't. I mean, if Yates would have beat them, I wasn't gonna say, "See, I told you." No, guess what? It would have been satisfying for those players, but it would have been an opportunity to fill a void that some people had in the community. So that's what I wanted to get that out of there. And Greg, you share your last thoughts on that topic, or we move on to something else real quick.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so I'll just say this quick. If Michael Jordan come on your show and say, we play ball here, we can play. If you want to set that up, you can get that done. And then and a one-on-one game against Kobe Bryant, and then Kobe Bryant say, "Oh, I'm ready. We're gonna play then." Is Michael Jordan gonna come back and say, "Man, I ain't gonna play"?
I mean, I don't coach. I'm gonna tell you, I didn't. Me personally, I'm gonna go back and watch the tape because I didn't hear the tape. I don't even remember what was said, but I just know when I talked to the powers that be, that same exact day, I knew it wasn't gonna happen. I knew that it just wasn't gonna happen. That's why I didn't talk about it no more, Coach. Because I would have usually, I'm going to come back on the next day and talk stuff. When I found out how they really felt, see, people don't understand. People will say a lot of stuff, but they didn't realize them Yates folks were serious around here. They didn't see the emails that Jimmy and I got that day from the Yates fan. They said, drop it like it's hot. I hear you got this. You got this. I got this. I got this. Nobody from that area said anything. So guess what? I said, okay. And they explained to me, that's what they asked me. Did anybody from Dallas second that? No. He said, because it ain't going to happen. I said, okay. All right. That's all right. So guess what, Greg? It's okay. It's okay. Tell me this here. What we got coming back next year? Because ain't nothing we can do about them. What we got coming back next year?
Let me add one more little piece, then I'll be done. because I hear you saying that you're asking the powers that be there. So if you're talking to Yates,
Mhm.
and you're talking about who the powers that be, who deciding whether you play, who would it be? I'm just asking you a question.
It's you.
Who the powers that be for Yates to decide if they're gonna
You.
play
That's
something?
you.
Oh, okay.
Everybody don't have the dynamic you have. Everybody is not what you said, Jimmy. Everybody ain't been to the state championship seven times.
Well, he's been more than
I mean,
7.
excuse me, one. I'm talking about, yeah. Well,
No, I'm saying he's been more than 7. He's been 7 in the past
okay.
9.
Well, forget my numbers. Astronomical amount of times. Everybody don't have that juice. That's a younger coach up there, and he I just don't think that coach wanted that smoke, coach. I'm just telling you. I mean,
I got you.
I just don't. Yeah, that's all. I don't know him. I don't know him, but I just don't think he wanted none of that smoke. That's
I
all.
got you. I'm gonna leave it at this.
Uh-huh.
The 2 practices before we left,
Uh-huh.
best practices that the team that I've ever had. They were so focused, and the game that you saw against Lamar, that wasn't gonna be nothing close to what you was gonna see in San Antonio. Because them dudes, Reuben Jones from being hurt last year, and Antoine from being sick, and the practice that we had, you got to do a lot to impress me. But I was looking out there at some of that, and I just let that go. And I was in there, I looked at and said, damn, them niggas in trouble. And so they couldn't wait to get on there. They couldn't wait to get off that bus. And I just feel like San Antonio is gonna see something they ain't never seen before down there that weekend. I'm gonna leave that.
Okay. All right. We got robbed. We got robbed of what we could have saw.
Yeah. And now this season coming up, Coach, you have on your schedule tentatively. I mean, I don't know how it's going to. And that's why I'm asking now. A trip to a return to the prestigious Nike tournament in Hawaii. Is that? And tell us about that. And is that tournament still on the books? And also, we see on the feed there's a couple of gentlemen. One, of course, Stacy in Dallas wants to invite you to his event in November, and another young man, Dexter, is reaching out and saying he has a showdown in Lake Charles, at the beginning of December, and says top teams from all over the state. And so, if you want to give them a way they can contact you to help consummate those games or entertain those thoughts, then feel free to do so right now. But first and foremost, what's going on with the Hawaii trip? Tell us about that.
Everything's good. They're still planning on having it, and as you know, the Oak Hills and the Mount Verde, and they always bring 4 schools from the states, and so all that's still in place. And if you go and look at it's Iolani Classic, IOLANI, and you can see from last year how well they do that thing and how big it is. And I mean the whole place in Hawaii, that's all they give for that weekend. So all that's still set, still ready to go.
Greg, so I don't get this wrong, because I want to get my numbers right. How many times have you been to the state championship? Because I want to know. How many? 8?
9. I count 9.
Okay, 9. Okay. So if you went 9, Greg, how many have we came back home with the hard way?
4.
Okay. It's not bad. That's some of that Magic Johnson type stuff right there. Huh?
Let me rephrase that. 4/5. Because this is one of the 9, so it's 4/5.
If you ask the question, Hannah, how many times you went down and did not lose a game? So it'll be 5. He went to state and didn't lose a game. It'll be 5.
So he'd have been down there and didn't lose a game?
No, well, I'll take that back.
Oh,
no.
You're talking about this year.
Yeah, I'll take that back. Let me
okay. I got you.
Strike that answer. Strike that answer.
Okay.
I let Greg Wise address that.
I got you.
Disregard my answer to that.
Okay.
So when I say 4/5, the 5 is this year.
I got you. I missed that.
So that's part. That's part of the 9.
Coach, that's coach. Me, just me. Because I looked at the other teams, I kind of thought you was gonna win this one. So, coach, 5 out of 9, coach. Yeah, that's great territory you in there, boss. I told you, look, that's some of that Magic Johnson type, Kobe Bryant type stuff right there. You understand me? Huh?
And we lost. We lost one of them. Damian Dawson missed a 3 at the buzzer that could have won it for us. And it's kind of like if Jordan missed a 3 because he had carried us up until that point, him and Clyde. So, but he missed a corner shot that I would have bet he'd have made that 70-80% of the time. And so we came within one shot of having another one.
I got a question. Somebody trying to get you to come to Miami on our YouTube page.
Really?
Glenn Smith said, "Hold up, I got something for y'all in mind." So that's why he said that's why he couldn't get you to go to Miami because you're going to Hawaii. Hawaii, I love Miami, but ain't nothing like Hawaii. Oh my goodness, ain't nothing like it, Greg. Y'all might have to find Greg. Find me a room. I'll put my credit card up. I might have to do that one, G, because I missed that last one. Huh?
The way they do it, I guarantee. I mean, they take the teams out every night. Luau's, parties. I mean, they do it first class. Out on the boat, take you out on the ship, and I mean, they do everything for you. So, so Miami at the same time as the Hawaii tournament.
I think that was the founder of that Miami tournament said. He said that's why I couldn't get you to go. I couldn't get him to come to Miami. Maybe he asked indirectly. I think he on the 20. I forgot what. I don't know what. I don't know what date. I don't know the date. I'm sorry, but he just said that on the YouTube page. What you got, Jim?
You know, I was just thinking about it in Hawaii. I was just listening to the news last night. Mm-hmm. And learned that Hawaii ain't joking when it comes to the quarantine right now. There was a guy I heard on the news that went from New York, flew to Hawaii, mm-hmm. and they have a thing in place. Remember they saying if you from certain states and you fly in, you must be on a 14-day quarantine. Mm-hmm. They found out dude was saying, "The hell with that! I came here for vacation. I'm gonna get it in." Get what they did? They arrested him. $4,000 bond. And $4,000 bond. $4,000 bond.
So he had to come up with $400 to get out.
I don't know what the bail bondsman percentage is. That stuff varies from different states, but the bond was $4,000 for him bucking that system and with a fine and they put him in jail. And so I mean, but I'm thinking that tournament probably will go forward because Hawaii. Is pretty much they have their situation way more under control than we do in Texas, which the grade came out early this morning, Ada and Coach Wise. Texas has received an F in social distance compliance so our grade is of this morning as an F.
Excuse me, Greg Wise. Let me tell you something.
I believe that.
I took a ride this Sunday. I said, let's just ride. Got in the car, rode out to Galveston. Greg Wise. It was packed. Then I said, okay. Guess what? My folks in Third Ward they're not gonna be doing that. I come back, hit around 45 and hit around 290, 288. Went over to Third Ward. Same way. Great. And Jimmy talking about, well, Robert, these people, these people were looking nice. They had Bentleys and everything parked out there. They wasn't, I sit there and said, these folks act like and hold up, no mask. They was on them patios getting it in. So guess what? Either there's something they know or there's something I don't know. But I ain't gonna tell you no lie, Greg. I've been all right being at home, man. and staying out the way, man. You know what? I'm gonna tell y'all, Greg, and I don't know if y'all familiar. I've been taking classes online. Greg, do you know Harvard having free classes online? Latrice Hughes, Rick Wilmore, Harvard is having free classes online, and I always wanted to go to Harvard, so I'm taking the classes. And if I want the certificate, all I got to do is pay $99. I can get the certificate. Man, I'm learning computer science. Man, I'm learning. I mean, it's just so much JavaScript. I'm learning. Dude, it's crazy that I am going to class for Harvard for free online. I don't know if y'all knew that. I just wanted to share that with y'all. I meant to share that to you early in the part of the show, but Penny came on. But it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And
Just,
and so
just real quick, while you on that, what I like to throw in is, and I know Mr. Dooley kind of told y'all a few times about the player we had last year that went over to University of Houston and got in the honors and the honors group. Do you know? And he was also the grand marshal or would have been the grand marshal for the rodeo.
Uh-huh.
They chose that dude to come up with a plan for if they going back to school. So with the COVID-19, as a sophomore, they chose him to again come up with a plan for the kids going back to University of Houston. Along with that, and you know, Juwan McClellan had called me to say, man, out of all the things you done, people don't realize how much you do in terms of, and again, with Mr. Dooley is leading the way in terms of our kids graduating not only from high school but graduating from college, and so Jacob Young and Lorenzo Phillips, better known as Shabu, they both got their degrees.
I saw that.
awesome.
Here. Just want to throw that in on them and congratulate them on graduating.
That is definitely awesome. And Coach, about how many Division I players has you produced since being at Yates High School? We'll just say in the past 10 years. Do you have a count?
I do, but you know, I have Randy Morgan keeps up with all that in terms of how many wins, losses, and all of that. And so I don't know the exact number. I'm pretty sure if I asked him, he'd be able to tell us right off. But to give you an exact number right now, I don't know.
And so we got a couple more questions for you, Coach. And one of them asked, can you see yourself coaching college ball? or have any college reached out to you about their program, about working, they're taking over?
So you kind of have to know my history, understand that. Now, answer your question, yes, some have, but one, I'm not leaving Houston. When I took the Yates job, I coached at Hightower, took a couple years off to watch the Suns play. They were playing at Arizona. And when time to get back in, it was 4 schools all in HISD that had openings. And so about 4 or 5 of us all interviewing, supposed to get an interview for all 4 schools. And so I told them I'm here to interview for Yates. And so, they kind of looked at me a little funny because they felt like we should interview for every school. And but if it wasn't Yates, then I wasn't going to get back into coaching. The reason being is born in 3rd Ward, born on 2M Street right there, 2M and Dowling. Grew up with Yates people, Ryan people being my heroes when you look at, and some of them even my big brothers. George Stretch Campbell was my big brother growing up. Grew up with my brother, Jimmy Blacklock, whose son was the first pick for the Texans this year, was a big brother to me, and also the first black to play at University of Texas. Big brother to me. George Walker, who in my eyes at that time was like Michael Jordan, and everybody got their own, but I'm just saying in my eyes. And so was big brother to me, and for those kind of people to still come and keep up with us now, that's one of the things I'm most proud of. When I get a Stretch Campbell and a George Walker and a Jimmy Blacklock, and those kind of people call me and send me a note about how proud they are of what I'm doing with the program. That means as much to me as anything. But to grow up in Third Ward and even though we moved my 10th grade year, I'm from 0 to 16 years of age, growing up in Third Ward, and even coming back in the summers, even after we left. To be in that community and feel a sense of pride of what I'm doing for the school and the community that I grew up in, the streets that I grew up in, and I even think about just yesterday looking at where Dexter Manley was sick, and we grew up a street from each other. It used to be his street against my street in terms of football, basketball. So just the history of that being where I grew up, and I'm looking at praying at what should I be doing when it's time to get back into coaching, and Jace came right at that time, and so I feel like that wasn't by accident. So if you look at how it brings the community together, and Hat, I know you took that picture, and when you look at the crowd, and like you guys made it come, it wasn't just the kids. The crowd was full of adults and full of our community. And so when you look at how far we've come as far as that concerned, that's what I feel like was my calling to be here and do that. And so that's why I feel great about what I've accomplished there.
And of course, got more questions for you, Coach. And somebody asked, is it true that you were going to Aldine Davis High School?
So Aldine Davis is the only school that I've ever talked to when they call, and the reason for that is because the athletic director was my assistant coach at Hightower, and so when he called and just said, "Man, just come and listen to me," and once I did, he put out his red carpet on me, and I was thinking I'm just going there just to talk to him and that kind of thing. So to answer the question, everybody that calls, I always say no, not interested, and didn't even contemplate it. Didn't contemplate this, but I did agree to meet with him because of friendship and how close we were, and in terms of him being my assistant and still being friends. But in terms of if I was going to leave, then that's a no.
And now I want to give thanks to Otho, the confirmation is coming from the gym that as a result of the governor of Texas and their protocols, which were released on yesterday, there will not be an event at the gym this weekend. And so now we have to check, and tomorrow we'll confirm what's with Brian Jolivet. His event was slated the following week. Brian Jolivet.
Jimmy, what was the governor's edict? What did the governor? What he said after May 31st?
Well, effective May the 31st.
Okay.
Right. Youth sports may begin holding practices without spectators, right? And other than one parent or one guardian per player can be in the building at the time, right? Now, those sports may be able to hold games and competitions, right? With or without spectators on or after on June the 15th. So June the 15th, for going on forward, they will be able to have tournaments. That's the way it's interpreted. You'll be able to have tournaments June the 15th. And so now that means that anything before then is in jeopardy of possibly violating that protocol. So that's where it stands right now. So there's no event at the gym this weekend. And thanks a bunch for Otha for checking into that. Also, what you got? Well, here's the thing. If the facility, and there's protocol that the governor put in place for the facility operators, and I mean the facility, the owners and the operators. And one is, I know, because remember I explained to you guys last week, I actually, within the past week, I physically went to the MI3 Center and the gym to physically get my eyeballs and see what they had in place as far as, that way when I knew they were coming on the show yesterday. So I wanted to go and do a little extra homework and just let me look and see. So I looked, the MI3 Center guys, in case you hadn't been there in a while or in a couple of months, they've had an enclosure, a fiberglass enclosure built on the front, outside the front door. So that means you have to walk into that little, I don't want to call it a corridor, you have to walk into there first. That's where everybody that comes in that little part has to get there. They have one of those digital remote temperature things that they shoot at you from a couple of feet, a foot or two back, and it tells the temperature. Everybody that comes in has to get that. Everybody that comes in is required to wear a mask or a cloth face covering. Now, if you're going to play, you're not required to have that on while you're playing. So what happens is the MI3, as we had Mark Jr. on yesterday, he confirmed that they will not have all courts in use, and I saw a video yesterday that was on social media, and a video that someone took about, and it had a lot of kids on different courts. Now, I'm not sure that any of the rules or the protocol was broken. It just looked a lot of people, because you see 4 courts being occupied, maybe 5 courts being occupied. I know 4 for certain. Then if there's 10 people on each court and then you have spectators, it doesn't show violation, because they might have been in compliance. They had to come through this thing and go through the protocol coming in the door. So it's like one of those things. It's unfortunate, but guess what? Okay, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. Come on, you guys seeing the videos of what's going on there. Hell, you was at the beach. And it's not to compare the two, because these are kids and the beach is mostly grown. But at the beach, a lot of kids there as well. The thing is, a lot of people, this is the new normal, but a lot of people, you only can pull that rubber band back so far. A lot of people don't have the luxuries as others of staying at home. And some people, their level of not caring versus the risk versus reward, to most, it's obvious that they're willing to take that risk and get out there.
And Jimmy and Coach, I don't understand, Coach. Maybe because I've been blessed to go around the world. Coach, that's some nasty water they getting in out there. Coach, that's the nasty. Coach, you can't see. If somebody went under, you couldn't see. I got close to that water. Ain't no way in the world I'm jumping myself in that water. Let me tell you something. If the corona was in that water, oh my God, Jimmy, let me tell you something. So, and I know you're talking about the beach. It was the nastiest water known to man. And I don't understand them people out there gumping and diving. Oh, and some dude was surfing and the waves was this high. The hell he was surfing on? I don't know. I don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so then of course we got Greg Wise. We only got a few minutes left, Coach. We want to get to a couple more questions to you. And one of them is, Yates, you score a lot of points from defense. What effect does that style of play has on your players, the offensive development in the half court, right? Since players are judged on scoring, that translates to does that translate to college?
Say that last part again.
Since players are mostly judged on scoring, does that translate does that alone translate to the college game?
So that's probably the biggest misnomer, where people think we're just running up and down and playing. But when you have to think about and learn 10, 11, 12 different presses and understand how to rotate on each one, understand what to do, because if 4 do it and 1 don't, then you got an issue. And so all that is training you to think basketball. So you got to think about that many presses and understand. That's why this team is so good, because they've been together a year, 2 years, Ruben them 3 years. So they're doing it like clockwork. So that's why we could even add on. Some teams, you may can only do 5 or 6 presses because they're just not ready for it. This team, we could do all 10, 11, 12 different presses that we had, the 4 or 5 different ones we had on missed shots. We could do all of that. And so that's one of the things that people don't understand, is that's harder to do than just going and playing a straight man or a zone. And then on offense, when you look at it, just think about it. Don't go by what I said. Darius Gardner, who was a point guard for us, he went to the conference he went to and made first team. Took his team that hadn't even been into the tournament, took them into the tournament 2 years in a row. Joe Young, I do believe Joe Young was the player of the year, and I don't know if it's Pac-10, Pac-10, whatever it was, but I do believe he was the player of the year. Snap Peters, I do believe he was first team all conference when he at the school that he went to. Damon Dawson, I think he played at Yates, didn't he? Yeah, he played at Yates. Playing for the New York Knicks.
Yes, sir.
And was a great player in college. And then called across the University of Houston and called back to the coach who was there before Coach Sampson got there, and called Oregon, Dana Altman, don't go by my word, called Baylor and talked to Scott Jerome Tang, those guys, and they'll tell you that our guys are more prepared than anybody that they've had come to school, because they know how to play hard. They understand how to change from one thing to another. And one of the big misnomers is that we spend time working on offensive skills, half-court offensive skills and drills and things of that nature, one-on-one stuff. Got 2 of the best guys in the business in terms of individual workouts at the school. And so, I can't, because we getting steals and you're going to set them run a play when you can go dunk. And so, but the proof is in the pudding. When they get to school, they understand and how to run offense. They understand how to play hard. They understand how to play defense. So just look at all our guys that have left there and went, and the people that you look at and say, well, they first year they had problems, or they second year. We don't have that, because they understand from the get-go how to play hard, which is the main thing. And then they understand how to play defense, which is, I get you on the court in college if you can't play defense. And then on the offensive end, if you look at our players and what they've done, that's not an issue. In fact, it's the exact opposite.
And lastly, Coach, want to ask you, what can you talk about your upcoming schedule for 2020-21, and about the team that you're expecting this year? I know you're losing. You mentioned a few of your seniors that you're losing this year, but what can we expect for Jack Yates this upcoming season? And tell us some of the highlights on your schedule. Are you guys still opening up against? Not opening up. Are you guys still playing against Legacy? I know a lot of school districts have been expressing concerns and digressing against playing against them. They are on your schedule last year. PJ Koonsnard is a former Yates alum, as well as Kerry Patterson Brown, Yates alum, and also Alfio is over there in the media department. He's a Yates alum. Will Yates still support their own in regards to playing them in basketball?
So before I go there, I don't want to leave out Jacob Young, who had no issues in terms of understanding how to play. Had a great year this year. Lorenzo Phillips, who we just talked about, started the 2 years after he left junior college, and so the list goes on and on in terms of the proofs in the pudding in terms of those guys being better than ready for college. In terms of our schedule this year, you remember back when Juwan Howard was at Michigan and they was getting ready to play Kentucky. You remember what he said? Anyone of y'all remember his saying he came out?
What did he say?
Shocked or what?
Shocked the world?
Shocked or what? Yeah. So people think we've lost some people, but that's gonna be what we're gonna be able to say about our group next year. Answer that. So in terms of the schedule, I mean, you know the first game hits. I don't know who that was gonna be, but in terms of what I would call in the middle, in terms of again, obviously PJ and I are good friends, and they graduated from Yates. PJ with Nick in summer ball, and so the relationship there is super. But if the district passes that down and says we can't play them, that's kind of out of my hands. So they haven't said that to me yet. But again, our relationship is super. But if that's what they pass down as a whole in terms of the whole district, in terms of not being able to do it, then we would have to fall in line with what they're saying.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, great, really interesting, Coach. When you go scout a team, what do you look for? What are you looking at? Because a lot of times you are visible with your scouts, and and you really pay attention. But it's not the normal type of scout that most coaches in the high school level are doing. What are you looking at when you're scouting a team?
And you call me again.
No, this is a
man,
question.
you can't be asking that man that question.
No. I'm just joking. It doesn't really matter. I'm just joking. So let me answer the question. I'm just joking with you guys, but let me say this: when I tell our coaches to go scout, it's kind of easy because you don't have to write down no plays. You're not worried about nothing they doing on offense. All you do is that's why when I go watch somebody and they say I'm in the stands and they might try and do something and not run a play or whatever, that's meaningless because I could care less what you running. I watch players, tendencies. If we watching the Morton Ranch, I'm watching how great this dude is and what we can do without this kid. Does he go right, left as good as he right? Does he shoot right? Does he get to the basket? Is there a way that we can maybe get him in foul to get him out of there? What can we do to get him tired? What player can't shoot? So we might not even trap him. We may trap somebody else and leave him alone. But in terms of what they run on offense, I could care less because we're not going to let you run your plays anyway. So why sit there and try and figure out all this, and he picking here and then he cutting there and then he doing this and they circling, and I could care less about any of that. So we watch players, tendencies, substitution patterns, and how many people are playing, how many minutes they're playing, and things of that nature, but nothing in terms of what they're doing on offense. Now, on defense, that's not something you have to sit there and just figure out. If they're playing a man zone, if they switching up defenses and that kind of thing. So it's easy because we can concentrate on players and not have to worry about concentrating on what they're doing in terms of running their offense.
There you go. I mean, it's a good way to sum it up. A lot of people, got that you watch the players as opposed to a lot of people that most conventional scouts are watching what the teams are doing. And that is very intriguing on how.
And I'm Jimmy. I'm sorry. One time I learned from Greg Greg, oh, and another thing, Greg, I'm gonna get one of your secrets, because you always said if they just got 5 players, and that's their 5 best players, and they don't have nobody else, they're gonna be in trouble. They better, cause I'm gonna send them at you in droves. If and you always you look at that, you said, Robert, they ain't got but 5 players that play. They gonna be in trouble trying to play against. Now, we don't know if I'm gonna beat them by 1,000, but they're gonna have trouble because I'm sending 15 at you strong. I'm sending however many 12, however many you send. And Greg, I found it intriguing. I can tell you a secret. I never talked to you about it. We just talked about it today, and I watched a million games. I didn't realize you had different types of presses. I see you calling numbers out there. I see you call, and I'm saying, man, hold up. I've never coached that. I call it intriguing because I'm sitting there saying, how many ways that you can press? So I'm just looking at it. It's like you're like Frankenstein in there creating a monster, and you. I don't understand the method. It got to be a method to the madness, but I would think you get in certain positions, and this is how we press. No, you got a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 out of different sets. I'm saying, whoa, 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 whoa. So, I mean, I found that. I mean, you can elaborate on it if you want, but I found that very, very intriguing.
Yeah, well, the give you an example, and on the other side of that, that's why it's hard for somebody. You may scout us and you see that we're pressing, and I might watch what you're doing, and I can tell this is what you're gonna try and do against our press. But then when we play you, then we're doing 4 or 5 different other presses. We're not even doing the presses that you just spent 2, 3 days working on. Lamarck is a perfect example. The press break they worked on, it had absolutely nothing to do with the presses that we were running because they're all different from what they saw in the game that we played before that. And so, man, yeah, so that's why it's hard for somebody to scout us, and it's easier for us to scout someone else. But to give you an example of a different press, even just off of a missed shot, so you can trap those 2 people in the beginning, and almost like a full court straight up press.
Mm-hmm.
You can be in your defense, stay with your guys, let the big man who normally gets the rebound, he passes it to a guard. Okay, he's normally gonna pass it to the best player. Okay, so we may wait to the end and then go trap that guard, and then let him throw it back to that big man, and that's who we want to have the ball with in the first place. So we're not gonna rotate there. So like most times when that guy catches it, he's looking to pass to somebody else, and so that's just 2 examples of we got 6 different presses that we can run off of a missed shot. And the great thing about this is you had guys like Ruben and Antoine. Ruben knows our presses almost as well as I do. And so, and when somebody's doing something wrong, and so if he's in the back and he's coaching from the back, he can see and tell people what they're doing wrong. So that was the great thing about this press that we had this year, that we had somebody like Ruben in the back of the press. He's already smart. Smart as any player I've had, him and Pee Wee, smart as any guys I've had. And so 3 years of that, his 4th year in, it's like clockwork. And so that was the beauty about this team, that we could do all our different presses without worrying about not doing 1 or 2 or not worrying about this person or that person.
Coach, I got one more for you, Coach. Somebody they texted me this one, Coach. They just said, why? Ask Coach Wise, why was the Westbury game so close? What did Westbury do different? If you want to talk about it.
So Westbury was, you remember during the year when some people were coming on and saying that, especially during district, was saying we were scoring 100 points, so we wasn't playing nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I think Westbury went pretty far in the playoffs.
Mm.
I think Madison went pretty far in the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
I think Morton Ranch had great play. That was funny during district when people were saying that when we had just got through playing teams, we had beat teams like Morton Ranch, Madison, Westbury, Legacy. So, and has scored 100 on those guys. So that was the funny thing about that. Now, to answer the question on Westbury, we had, I think we won the game by, was it almost 20? Somewhere around 18, 19, 20. And so when you look at it, you got two things. One, Westbury played well. I felt like even going into that game that we felt like they weren't that good and weren't going to be on. I told the coach before the game we wasn't ready to play, and so and you get that 2-3 times out the year through the year. So it's a combination of not taking nothing away from Westbury. They played well. The coach did a good job with them. But then once we kicked them in the gear, and I think we still ended up winning 17, 18, 19 points, somewhere in there. And again, that's against a playoff team that went pretty far into the playoffs.
Well, man, we definitely, man, it's that time, and we're at the end of the rope. And
Yes,
it was a great
sir.
1 hour of great convo with Coach Greg Wise, and we definitely appreciate it, man. You addressed all of the questions from the Facebook feed as well as the YouTube feed. We're going to ask you guys it's on the Facebook right now. If you would do so, please take out the time and share the show.
Oh yeah.
Share the show, if you would, to your timelines, to your basketball groups, to your friends. And lastly, I want to remind you guys, today's show is dedicated to Coach Ken Burmeister, who just passed away after his squabble with cancer. And
Jimmy, I'd like to add to that because thank y'all, the people who have been signing into and subscribing to YouTube page, because I promise you, it's helping the digital footprint of it. It's just a different way to watch a show. We got in both Facebook. Don't feel left out because your comments and YouTube comments. I wish I can give y'all a look at what my screen is looking. They're coming up together. They're integrated together. So we see everything you're doing. But I'd like to just put out this thing to all the people on Facebook. When you have time, go over to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube site. And just in case, our YouTube channel, just in case if something happened on Facebook, you'll be able to show, we'll always be able to go on. Okay, so I just want to thank and shout out to Coach Burmeister, man. I met him when Darrell Green was on his team at Incarnate Word. That's when I met him. Coach John Smith was assistant coach, so I got a chance to, hang around that program a little bit. We lost a good man, and so yeah, let's go out and live. Let's celebrate. What's going on, Jimmy?
Man, that's pretty much it in a nutshell, man. We got Coach Greg Wise, and definitely appreciate it, Coach, man. Thanks a bunch for chopping it up with us on the Chop Shop. Great show today, guys. It's time to slide on down Dino's back and yabba dabba do this thing until tomorrow. We got special guests with you guys tomorrow.
That's right.
Guess what we got tomorrow for you guys? We got 2 college coaches coming on tomorrow. And speaking of the Pac-10, Pac-12, we going west because of all of the well, not all, but because of some latest revelations and about schools in California and the West Coast. We're going to go west, and we're going to bring you 2 college coaches and share, and we'll explain to you guys what their plans are during this COVID-19 pandemic. And that is, we got Damon Stoudemire, head coach of the Pacific, and also we have Tony Stubblefield, the associate head coach at Oregon, whom you mentioned and Joseph Young played under Coach Stubblefield a couple of years ago. So those are on tomorrow. Once again, yes, Tony Stubblefield and of course Damon Stoudemire. So tune into the Chop Shop on tomorrow, guys. We'll see you. Thanks so much on behalf of Robert Hatter. See you. Thanks so much, Greg Wise. We up out of here. Peace. Chop Shop.
Let's hit that button.
Jim Hicks, Rob Hatter. You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the